Cool. So let's get started. Welcome to the Porter Community Meeting for September 23rd, 2021. I'm Carolyn Van Slyke. Fawn, if you could. I always ask you to take notes. I'm sorry. But if you would, that'd be great. Thanks. Hey, Jeremy. It's nice to see you here. Would you be interested in introducing yourself?
Oh
It's not
yeah,
required.
I was actually just going to listen in,
That's
but my
fine.
name, yep. So I can see I'm the only other participant here. I was expecting a large group, but um, I work for Hewlett Packard Enterprise, and I'm working on the Esmeralda container platform, and we are looking to bundle our cloud native apps using Porter and use it
Oh,
to activate and basically we're working on having Porter underpinning the whole our application bundling. So that's what we're
cool.
moving to. We have our own kind of proprietary format for bundling so far. So and we bundle apps designed for Cube Director as well. So that I've already done some prototype work, and we have a tool for authoring apps, and I've already had that generate CNAP bundles using Porter. So um, I've been pulled away for a little bit, but I'm going to be, in a few weeks' time, I'm going to be heads down working again on that project. So I'll be looking to work much more closely with Porter and figure out some of the, um, use the technology and get a bit deeper into it. So I'm very interested just to listen in for now.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm going to be doing demos today, and sorry for putting you on the spot. I'm just, you can see it is a small group.
Yeah.
And we're always curious what people are up to. I just want to put out a, invitation. These meetings are just basically for the community. It's whatever people want to talk about. So if you ever want to have this be a working session and ask questions or discuss features or pull requests or anything that can help you move forward, that's totally a fine use for this time. Anyone can edit this document and throw something on the agenda, and whatever's there, we do. So, welcome. First, what I wanted to talk about is we had a really big release this week. Oops. And I just wanted to go through. Let's do this instead. I wanted to go through what just dropped because it's months in the making. You see, there was a little bit of lag, July 1st, and now September. What have we been up to? I don't really want to read a blog post to y'all, but I just wanted to kind of go through some of the things that have changed. So we've been working on an alpha release of Porter 1.0. The idea is that we're going to tidy up a lot of things that have been brought up to us based on like people using it. And so some of those changes are going to be breaking changes, unfortunately, and that's really what I want to call out. We've been carrying some tags and fields for a while, namely tag. That's finally gone in this latest release. So if you've been using it and ignoring warnings about it, you're going to want to change that. But some pretty cool features are in there that kind of hopefully get people to try it out. One is that we're no longer storing files on the file system anymore, or in, for example, S3 and things like that. Instead, we support MongoDB. If you're on Azure, we'll have Cosmos DB support super soon. It kind of works right now, but to be honest, we're going to have like a dedicated plugin for it in a couple months, and I think that's probably what people should be using instead. And this is great because, one, you can actually go through your data and look at it and read it and query it and everything. The performance is way better, and it gives Porter a lot more flexibility in the type of queries we do and what we can show you in the command line tools and everything like that, which is really great. We're going to run a database for you in a Docker container, so you don't even need to have Mongo set up to try it out, you can run Porter just like you do today, and it will just kind of magically work. And then when you're in production, you can actually roll out a real, supported instance, maybe like MongoDB as a service somewhere using Atlas, and have a proper backed up database. One thing to note about this is because this is a really big format change for us and we're still in alpha, there's going to be no support for migrating your data or, changing it from version to version until we get to 1.0. So when we hit 1.0, there will be support for migrating your data from the old version, which is currently V038. But between alpha 1, 2, 3, 4, this is just to play with. You definitely shouldn't be using V1 alpha in production. So just try it out with non-production workloads and expect that between alpha 2, alpha 3, alpha 4, and beta, we're not going to be helping you migrate that data. So just use toy bundles with it while you try it out. So speaking of new things that we can do now that we have kind of proper query support for our data, is Porter now allows you to scope where you install and work with installations. So let's say you have like a team, okay, and you're managing all the installations for, whatever your company is installing internally, okay? Oftentimes what you'd want to be able to do is we're going to have shared credentials, shared parameters, like common things that you would set for your application in dev, in staging, customer acceptance, and in prod. You can now define these in one place and then group them together with namespaces. So the most obvious is like, I make a namespace for myself in the dev environment, or I make a namespace per environment is another thing people do. And it works pretty much exactly like, say, Kubernetes namespaces. And it just helps you organize your releases and kind of provide a little bit of isolation so that I could create a credential set called Azure, and it would have my Azure creds. And then Vaughn could do the same thing, but because they're in separate namespaces, they don't collide. Slightly different than Kubernetes, though, is we have something called a global namespace. So you can define maybe like shared team credentials or parameters at the global level. It won't have a namespace set, and you can use it either for a global installation, or maybe I'm in a separate namespace. I'm in the Carolyn namespace. I can still use those global credentials to kind of help people share and reuse things without having to redefine things over and over again. So next is labels. This is mostly just to help you organize. At the moment, Porter doesn't do anything with this data. We just store it and we help you filter by it. But coming up when we add dependencies, this will be a key feature. It's not really relevant right now, but just it's going to set things up later for us to be able to do some pretty interesting things. Right now, you can just put whatever you want on it. It's just key values. They're all strings, and you can filter by it. So this is what I wanted to demo, though, is bundle state. Right now, with the current version of Porter that's out there, stable, if you were, say, using the Terraform mixin, it's possible to get into a really sticky situation where you would run install and Terraform ran and it actually provisioned resources. Maybe it created a VM, created a cluster, a database, whatever for you. And then some step after Terraform during install fails. When you go to repeat install, unfortunately what happened is the TF state wasn't saved. And so when you try to run it again, you have these orphaned resources that you end up having to like manually clean up yourself. That's been fixed with state. So let me show you what this looks like. I have a demo bundle here for TabbyCat. And what TabbyCat is not important, but it uses Terraform and it uses the Helm 3 mixin. And I have some credentials here and some parameters. But you'll notice what I don't have is anything about my TF state file in the parameters or the outputs. Previously, in order to have your bundle manage TF state, because you maybe weren't using a remote Terraform backend, you would say, sure, my TF state is a parameter and it's an output. You'd hook it up together, and then your bundle would constantly persist that for you. But as I pointed out, there's that weird corner case, which isn't really all that weird. It's kind of expected. We should support this. So what I've added is state. Inside your bundle, you can flag files as this contains important state for my bundle. It's not meant for the user. No one's going to pass in a TF state file when they run the bundle. But when my bundle generates these files, it should always be re-injected back into the bundle the next time it runs. And it doesn't matter what the action is, anything like that. Always give that data back to me. So for the most part, I'm focusing on Terraform because TF state's pretty obvious. But really anything. If you're maybe running command line tools yourself and provisioning resources and you want to remember what you made, and you don't kind of have a lot of external infrastructure to support this, the bundle can remember things for you. And then otherwise everything looks exactly the same. It just kind of took a hack that everyone was doing and formalized it. This is kind of great because when I do things like run porter explain, let's try this here. So porter explain, and let's look at that tabby cat demo. Oops, I maybe made up that version number. There we go. Let's maybe make that slightly bigger. You'll notice that we have TF state declared as something that's important. Oops. I guess I have an older build here. Sorry about that. Normally these don't show up. You wouldn't see them here, but you don't see them as parameters. And it looks like, yeah, I have a bad build here on my local machine. I usually have like 6 different PRs and branches on my machine at any one point in time. And looks like I don't have this. This is in the latest version though. You won't see TF state and TF vars show up, which is nice. So the user isn't really aware that state's a thing, and we don't really expose it to them to muck with either. Oh, wrong one.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Actually, it was kind of around what you just mentioned. I was curious if advanced users of a bundle with a state bag, if they can actually extract state. I don't know, just take a peek.
Yeah. It's not shown to you, but we don't actively prevent you from interacting with state. So if you know it's there, you can read the output and, for example, get that TF state out. But in general, it's not really meant for you to mess around with. But we don't really like prevent things unless we think it's going to hurt someone. So since it doesn't seem to harm anything, we don't show it to you so that you know it's something you can query for. But if you know it's there, you can get it. That makes sense.
Well, yeah, that does make sense. It could be cool to just kind of have it be an output. Like you can't send it back in to an action, but you could just take a peek at TFRs or something. I don't know. Does it all?
Yeah, and you can. Like I hit it, and I'm sorry that my demo is using an older version of Porter here. I hit it from here so that when you're explaining a bundle, and the purpose of explain is to say, as an end user, what should I be doing with this? You know, how should I run install? How should I run upgrade? What's an applicable credential or parameter? And what output should I expect to be working with, right? We don't show TF state, TFRs. But if you looked at the bundle definition, which we're going to start exposing through inspect so that you could see what it is, you could dig in there and kind of really geek out and debug what's going on. But I'd probably still not want to expose it here like it is now, because I think it'll give people this false sense of I should be doing something with these when we really don't intend them to be something the user kind of adds to the mental list of what is this bundle doing. it's kind of like an internal concern. Cool. So the next thing I wanted to show, well, not really show, but just discuss, is that this has been a much asked for feature, which is, we have Porter credentials generate, parameters generate, but, a lot of us are automating and scripting CI situations where we have a file, we already want to use it, and we'd like to get it imported into Porter so we can use it by name. And now you can do that. So let's kind of look around here a bit.
This is great to see, Carolyn. I was literally going to ask if there was a supported way to do this because, I've been automating a lot of bundle setup lately.
Yeah, so this should help. So I have a couple credentials here, and we've modified the show command so that you can use that essentially as an export. So you can do credentials show, all right? And I'm gonna look at TabbyCat demo, okay? But I'm gonna output it as YAML and then save it to a file. So let's take a look at that. Since this is alpha, we're not quite done yet. I think this schema version is going to change just a wee bit, but all of this will stay the same. So the name, the namespace, the credentials, all this, previously you kind of had to go through this interactive thing. Now you can just say what you want it to be. So it should be a lot easier to generate. And then, import in on a CI machine and start using, maybe commit this to your repository because there should not be sensitive data in these files. I think that should just be pretty helpful to people. I showed credentials, but parameters works exactly the same way. So I just kind of went through everything that's in the alpha release, but I also wanted to show something that isn't released yet. So this is something I'm working on right now. So I have a couple different installations here. Let's list them out and see what we have. So I have a new one, Mayama, because I like llama Spanish jokes. Let's take a look at what this is. So this is one of the Porter demo bundles that you can use to kind of play with features and things like that we have out there. And it tells you what bundle are we tracking right now. So we're using the Get Porter Hello Llama bundle. This bundle just echoes back your name. And it has a parameter here. I've already set the parameter and it says Hello Carolyn when you run it. And then has a bit of status of like what we ran and everything. So what this new feature is how we exported a credential set. Let's export this installation. I always show YAML because that's just kind of what I like typing in instead of JSON, but you could use JSON too, by the way. Okay, and let's actually open this up and edit it. So you see a bunch of the things here that you saw in show is being echoed out to you. Some of them you can't edit, but we just kind of dump out for you, like all the status and things like that. If you were trying to automate things or scrape information out of Porter, this is definitely the best way to do it. Use output, send it to JSON, and then, script against it. But everything under status, don't use. But here, I'd like to be able to change the parameter. I don't want to say hello, Carolyn. I want to say hello. Oh dear. Should not have picked Vim for this. Porter people. And what I'm going to run now is Porter installation apply, and I'm going to give it that that installation file that I just saved off to the file system. So a couple things here. Let's unpack what's going on here. It automatically detected that it should do an update. So it figured out this installation already existed. If it didn't exist, it would have installed it. It detected that it's out of sync. It diffed the parameters that were in that file compared to the parameters that we used when it was last run and realize it should do something different, it then kicks off the bundle and runs it for you. And here's our parameter in action. Instead of saying Carolyn, it's echoing out Porter people. And now if I maybe just show it again. Now it remembers that we've switched it up. So if I try to reapply that file, let's try this again, see what happens. So it detects there's no change and nothing happens. This is kind of like a middle step, like a baby step towards having the Porter operator work the way it should. This has been like an MVP that I've been working on honestly all year. And the original Porter operator was very imperative. You gave it a YAML file and it ran whatever the YAML file said, right? But what we really wanted was desired state. I wanted to be able to say, this is what I want the installation to look like, and then have Porter just do whatever's necessary to get us to that state. So the first step is just getting Porter to be able to detect changes and reconcile, which it can do now. The next step is going to have incorporating that into the operator, and that's going to be coming within the next month or two, probably. Definitely by the end of the year, we'll have it. So I think that'll be pretty useful for people. It's kind of like if you want to like throw buzzwords, it's very GitOps. After we implement that, the next step is going to be adding Flux support so that you could do really neat things like check a file into a repository and say, this is the installation I want, and I want it in these 3 environments, for example. And these are the parameters, the credentials, everything. And then I could modify that file and like push those changes back to the repository. And by pairing the Porter operator and Flux, we'd be able to have that automatically kick off and then roll out those changes to those 3 environments, so that you can manage your software and your infrastructure through code, through Git is the idea. Conversely, another thing Flux would let us be able to do is watch a Docker repository for new versions of a bundle and then automatically run upgrades for you so that you could essentially say, I have an installation of my application and I always want it to be the latest version. And as soon as a new version is published out there, I want that, deployed on my blog or website or some internal line of business app, doesn't matter. Yeah. So those are my demos. I don't know if anyone has any questions.
Hey, quick question, Carolyn.
Mm-hmm.
Hi. This is awesome to see. This is like, I've been kind of lurking for a little while, but I've actually been working on a POC project where it's been Azure Service Bus connecting into like Argo events to Porter operator. And I've been kind of keeping track of some of the use cases for the Porter operator as I've been doing this. And so yeah, everything that you're showing there is like right in line with what's needed there. And I've just learned that it looks like where I work at, we're going to be funding some work on this. So I'm hoping to be able to participate and maybe have some team members join to be able to contribute for some of these use cases moving forward.
That would be great.
I mean, this just syncs up so much with that work, and I'm hoping to be able to collaborate with y'all a little bit more moving forward and seeing where we can take this.
Yeah, we 100% welcome any type of contributions you're interested in. Even just giving us feedback like this and saying this is in the right direction, these are how we would use these different features, is incredibly valuable. And just trying things out occasionally, even if you can't do code contributions, because I know we all have jobs, it's a pandemic, but any sort of feedback or, hey, it'd be really neat if it did X, Y, things like that, is also just as valuable to the project to kind of help keep us going and make sure that what we deliver is going to be useful.
Yeah, I'm hoping to take my work that I've been doing and get it up on a public repo to share with you all to kind of just show the use cases and what I'm seeing there a little bit. But I'm looking to be able to spend time on the job contributing to this. So I'd like to be able to sync up with you all moving forward a little bit on some of that.
Yeah, great. You know, whenever you have it ready and you wanted to show us, by the way, you could always do it at this meeting if you're interested in letting other people see too and get ideas or not. It's, this will be recorded and posted on YouTube, just so you know.
And trust me, it's not just been Porter that's been part of this. It's been the learning curve around Argo events and Azure Service Bus and all that fun stuff as well to tie it all together. So.
Yep.
But no, this is just right in line with that roadmap. So
great. I think that's really all I had today, unless someone else had something else they were interested in bringing up. Cool. I hope you enjoyed the demo. Please, if you have a chance, try out the alpha. Even if you just give us a thumbs up and go, I tried it, nothing blew up, that's useful. Otherwise, it is just my machine who's run alpha lately. And, we're always looking for more confirmation that it's working and that someone's seen it actually do what it's supposed to do. All right. Thanks, everyone. I'll see you in a couple weeks.
Thank you. That was awesome. Yeah.
Great stuff.